There we go. Well, first, I also just want to say thank you. I remember when I first started this podcast about a year ago, a little more than a year ago. One of the things that like I followed kind of like a plan outline thing, and it had us write down people's names I would want to bring on to interview, and you were one of my top like 10 of people that I wanted to bring on. I mean, I met you once at conference, and then just kind of through social media and stuff, but I've always looked up to you, and not just Anytime Fitness, but like life too. I don't know, I love your vibe and everything. So yeah, thank you for coming on and just sharing your story a little bit.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad you got your podcast out. People need to hear what you have to say. It's important.
Thank you. So first, can you just start by telling us more about you and like what you do, and then also kind of how you got started within fitness and working out and all that?
Yeah, so I kind of split myself into two buckets now. I have my career at Anytime Fitness. So I work for Self-Esteem Brands, and they're the largest fitness franchise on the planet, Anytime Fitness, which is like still humbling to me, still like surprises me. I'm manager of exercise programming there. So my main position is creating programs and workouts for trainers to execute at the club level and supporting the trainers on culture, connection, education, community. I really feel responsible, and my passion is with my fellow trainers and coaches. And we can deep dive more into why that's so important to me. But that's my main role with Anytime. And then so I have been swirling on this forever and ever. I've always had my own side hustle training business. At some points in my life, it's been my full-time career, Prairie Fitness. But in the last maybe 2 years, it's kind of evolved to what I'm now calling heart-centered coaching and retreats. And so I'm working with a bunch of other women. And what's interesting is I didn't even try to have it be all it just happened. Like people I was connecting with, people that were wanting it were all female, identified as female. And so far we've done a couple retreats. We have one coming up in September, but I'm kind of also just like swirling again on this next like evolution in what health and fitness and wellness is. Because for me as a trainer, it used to be very gym centered, like that was the place, that's where you go. And now I feel like it's a lot more inclusive. Like you can get healthy in the gym, you can get healthy in the gym and at home and outside and meditating on your bedroom floor, like wherever you can access health right where you are, wherever you are. And so that's been something that I just can't, like, I can't ignore that I want out in the world anymore. So I started kind of this wellness, it moved from like Prairie Fitness to now I would call more of like a health coaching approach.
That's awesome. So you're kind of like starting to entail not just gym stuff, but like so that anywhere in the world can basically you can help, and they can. I think it's important for people to know that they can access health and wellness like right here, right now, wherever you are, whether you're inside, on your bedroom floor, like you can have access to it in some aspect, like whether it's meditation, mental health, doing a workout, so that's really cool. Is that so that's kind of something you're doing alongside Anytime Fitness right now?
Yeah, my workload at Anytime is project based, which is great. So I always have things with start and end. Conferences coming up, our annual conference, which is a really big workload. But the wellness, especially the retreat side, is relatively like we call it like low risk, low work, high reward. So it's not a whole lot of time. It's just a lot of coordinating of parts and then the actual events themselves. So I've really enjoyed it. It's manageable. It's energizing. I don't feel like when I used to run my Prairie Fitness business before Anytime, it was out of necessity. Like I wasn't making enough as a trainer. And so I didn't have a choice. Like I had to do it. And now it's just like, it's just this passion project. And so it feels different and feels really empowering instead of like, oh my gosh, if I don't get this client, like I'm not eating. Different
Yeah,
mindset.
yeah, for sure. So then how did you yourself get into this aspect, like for yourself to get into health and wellness? Like, I think everyone has a different story with how they themselves, not just helping people, but what made you want to start working out, eating healthier, learning more about different aspects of health and wellness?
So I got out of college and I got a job. I was actually a recruiting manager. I was helping H-1B visa workers find jobs in the US. And even when I say it out loud, it sounds so boring. But I was really good at writing. My degree was actually in writing, so I was pretty skilled at resumes and like helping people interview and all that stuff. Um, but I pretty quickly, literally within a few months, I was like, is this it? Like, is this life now, adulthood? Like you just go to this job you don't like and you sit all day and then you go home. Like, was this what really happens to people? You know, I had been an athlete my whole life. I'd also coached volleyball forever and ever. I was still coaching volleyball. So the universe was like, okay, we hear you. And I got laid off from that job and then started another job, the exact same for another company, and got laid off. And I was like, okay, hang on a second. Like, what's going on here? What's my favorite part of my day? And it was coaching volleyball and hitting the gym at the time. I was really big into running because I had never lifted weights before until my 20s. I didn't know what I was doing. And I joined a gym with my friend and we started writing our own workouts and strength training. And I started kind of doing some SAQ for players. And I'm like, man, I really love this. Like, this is the thing I look forward to most. And then got into training, got certified and went into training. So, and like in hindsight, I can't imagine doing anything else. Originally, I went to school to be a teacher and I got all the way into student teaching and I hated it and I couldn't figure it out. And then when I found training and coaching, I'm like, oh, this is the setting that I want to be teaching people in. It just was the fit that I didn't even know existed at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then too, like once I'm in here, once I got into training, like it's such a great industry to be a lifelong learner. And that's something that I'm just wired for. I love to learn. I'm always taking a certification, talking to someone, reading a book. It's fascinating. You could spend your whole life trying to understand the body and mental health and everything that goes with it.
Yeah, there's so much to learn. I love like talking to people too and listening to things, reading things, but it's never ending. And I think too, like as a trainer, as a coach, like I never want to stop learning because there's always new things that come out or different ways of explaining something to a client, learning it for myself. Like there's just so much to learn. Um, and so do you have like one person that was your most influential, like you can think of one or two people and they're like that really propelled your personal growth forward?
Um, I would say probably my friend Dan, who's actually the one that I got into lifting with way back before we were trained. He became a trainer too, actually, which is funny. But he like we just were so committed to understanding like what health meant to us and what it meant to other people, and always thinking about how can we reach more people, how can we help more people. But I think really I've always I've always been most influenced by other trainers and coaches. And I think that's one of the reasons my position at Anytime means so much to me, is because that is how I've grown the most. It actually hasn't been a class or a book. It's been collaboration and learning from other trainers that I actually think has kept me going and motivated and excited about what is going on in the world of health.
Yeah, collaboration. I love that you said that. I've never had anyone say that, or just like I've never thought of it myself, I guess. Um, and is that because in the beginning you said that that was an important role for you, like being in Anytime Fitness? Is that kind of what you're talking about, like all of the collaborating with other trainers?
Yeah, you know what? There's been times when I've been a trainer where I loved what I did, but I hated my job. And it felt so heavy to me because I feel like trainers are so underrated, and there's such an easy preventative way for people to live longer and feel better. And in a lot of ways, the industry itself, like we've done it to ourselves. But we're also up against multi-billion-dollar corporations and industry and even our own government. Like, no one's coming to save us. And so there were a lot of times in my career where I was like, I don't think I can keep being a trainer because I don't make enough money. I can't work any more hours. This shit is hard. And so my position at anytime, I'm like, okay, I can help rally trainers and let them know you can do this. And we can teach you how to sell training in a way that feels good and help people reach their goals and have a lifelong career. Because a lot of trainers don't make it. Like, statistically, if you're a trainer and you make it past 3 years, you're probably good. But most trainers never make it that far. They just can't. And they're heart driven, but they have to completely switch industries because they can't crack it, or they don't have the leadership or support that they need to really dig in.
Yeah. So you would say it's either leadership, like them not having leadership, or it's not getting paid enough. Like that's why they leave. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and industry wide for a long time. I feel like the trend is kind of changing now, but we also undervalued or devalued what we did too. Like, we literally help people save their own lives, and that's a big deal. That's a
It
big deal. And I
is.
think a lot of trainers want to help people so bad that they'll be like, I mean, I'll train you for free just because, like, I just want to help.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, it's just like, it's both sides. I feel like, now post COVID, the tides are starting to turn a little bit, which is good to see. And people are coming up, even, doctors and insurance companies are helping trainers be more accessible or looking to them as a possible solution. So it feels good. It feels like we're finally moving in the right direction, but we have a long way to go.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think that underrating trainers, um, I know that I feel like that some people they think that, and it's important to have that guidance and help. Like some people are like gun ho about wanting to do it and do it themselves. Like for me, I'll struggle with someone just wanting to do it themselves, or they're doing this like diet, or and it's I guess for me, it's seeing all of these other um, industry, like diet industries, and the news saying to take this pill and all of those
Mm.
things. So I feel like that's been a challenge for me. Do you have any advice, or like have you been through that? Like, what's your take on all that?
Yeah, that's such a hard one, because it's not that, like, if somebody new comes to you, it's not just that we're overcoming whatever trauma they're coming in with, right? We also have to, like, unpack what the world of health has been telling them their whole lives. What quick, easy, cheap, right? Like,
Yeah.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a lot of training goes back to education and helping people understand that there if you're looking for something that's really sticky and that's going to help you long term, anything that's quick, easy, fast, cheap isn't it. Isn't
Right.
it? This
Yeah.
is a lifelong journey that a trainer is going to align and partner with you and really help guide you, keep you in the driver's seat, and really help guide you. We in the last retreat that I just did, we kind of came out, it just kind of came out organically, but I've been thinking about it since, is that we want a good trainer, a good coach wants to move their client towards freedom, whatever that means to them. Freedom of pain, freedom of medication, freedom of time, of energy. So if you feel like you're partnered with a thing, a product, a person, a trainer, a so-called trainer, and you feel like it's restrictive, it's not fun, it's it's not a direction that is moving you towards freedom, you're not there. You haven't found the right solution yet. It should feel, I mean, I know some of the training shouldn't feel great, but it should move you towards your best self, not away from it.
Yeah, I agree. And so you started off as a trainer with Anytime Fitness?
I actually started I've been with LA Fitness, Lifetime Fitness, and then I was in North Carolina for a bit called Ansel Fitness, and then running my own business like throughout the years.
Okay, gotcha. And when you put the programming together for Anytime Fitness, how does that, like, what is the, I'm just wanting, like, if there's other trainers out there, like, who is a trainer for Anytime Fitness and they're listening, I know for myself, I've just kind of not questioned, but I just curious about how you put together the program. Like, is there a specific format that you do each week, each month? How does that work?
Yeah, so we until and I have an industry board and a coaches council too. And until I don't think we ever will, but until we hear differently, we use undulating periodization and functional training. And for the average consumer, those are big words, but really, I take 12-week chunks of time and I have my pillars, right? We want people to move with full range of motion without pain. We want them to get stronger. Strength and strength training is at the foundation of everything we do. It is a cure all. It can reverse metabolic disease. It's just, it should be, if anyone's out there and strength training is not included in their plan from a trainer, you need to have a talk with that trainer.
Yeah.
Strength, longevity. So I have kind of like my pillars, and then making sure that it's functional. So it's more about, we want people to move and move well and often and forever. And a lot of it, depending on if like when people enter into our programs, they have to learn how to move. They may have never done that before, which is why we have sessions like base or small group training, because we want people to build on a great foundation, meet other people, have fun, and move before we kind of graduate them into more difficult things. So I always just keep that in mind. I try to hit my pillars. I know it's going to be undulating, which just means hitting all the movement patterns, push, pull, knee, hip, and core in one workout. And varying, things like time, rest, making it a game, making sure that we have a community aspect per every workout. And I think sometimes the community piece can be the most important. I know we heard a lot of feedback, especially during COVID, that when we had to like shut some of that down, people feel like they lost connection. And it was such a great reminder for us that, man, this isn't just about the workout, right? It's how people connect to themselves, to each other, to the trainer, to the culture of their club that is the most important.
Yeah, I found for myself being a trainer, the culture that gets created and seeing how when someone comes in and they're very shy or they don't really know anyone and they invest in a trainer, they invest in small group team training, to see like witness the personality and their growth because of the connection of everyone else has been super rewarding. Like, not just because they're losing weight, they're gaining strength, but also as a person, I can see them change and evolve over time. And I think that's really cool. And I really appreciate how you implement all of that within the workouts. Like, not just here's the workout, but like you talk about community and I don't know. I'm assuming that you do like the parting thoughts at the end now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I love that. When you started doing that, I was like, yes, that's awesome, because that's another piece. Like, sometimes it's more mental health, sometimes it's about water, learning a recipe, like whatever it is. So it's kind of all in one. So I know as a trainer for myself, knowing that you think that's super important too. And I appreciate all of that. So that's really cool.
Oh,
What, what is the importance of functional training versus doing, I guess, functional training and full body workouts versus split workouts, and like when to know what the person should do, whether it's like a client or just a person going to the gym?
I would say functional is for the majority. I would say the 80 to 90%. Again, it's people, because no one's out there moving 100. There are the freaks of nature out there, but no one is out there moving great or moving often enough, or certainly hitting up all the movement patterns, right? Like we can't just do legs or just do arms. So I would say that if someone is looking for or has a goal of fat loss, gaining strength, moving away from pain, again, lifting, having resistance training at the core, and wanting to just live. Here's what I tell people, especially like I just went through the functional aging summit and was reminded again of this, that even if you treat your body like garbage, biologically, we're at a place where you're probably still going to live until your 80s. And so even though this kind of is not such a fun coachy thought, but I just like, I don't want to think about my clients having to like be alone in a bed for the final years of their life. You know what I mean? Like I want to make sure people know how to move, fall in love with it, do it often. And functional is the way to go, right? If you start treating people like athletes, they suddenly start behaving like athletes, right? Like they go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have this glass of wine because I have to take burn in the morning, or maybe I do need to drink this water because my coach is going to ask me about it. So I would say that it's for the majority. If you have clients that are higher level clients that are doing something really specific, like bodybuilding or some kind of Olympic lifting training sport, you're still going to need functional, but you'll probably be heavier on certain things. Like when I did bodybuilding, I did more of splits where it was like a lower body day and upper body day, whatever it might be. And then when I got into Olympic lifting for a little bit, it was still splits, but it was functional. So it would be like a clean and jerk as your main lift, and then a lot of accessory work, and then like a 10-minute hit at the end. So I really think functional is for everyone, but the amount of it depends on the goal. But for the majority, it really should be more total body, because no one's moving enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Especially
Yeah.
like I used to do more splits for my clients, and I'm like, okay, I got him on Monday and it was chest day, and then I didn't see him the rest of the week. So what good
Right.
does that do? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Do you find that people who are newer to the gym, it takes them more time to fall in love with moving and working out, especially I guess for me, it's like if I see a client who, or just someone who is trying to get back into the gym or starting with working out, it might be a while before they find what they love, or how has that been? What's been your experience with that?
That's always a hard one, because some people are never going to love it.
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
okay. But what they do love is the outcome. And
Yes.
so that's what I like. There's going to be those clients that like, they hate every workout. They don't want to be there. Maybe a doctor told them they had to, maybe, you know what I mean? They come in with all this stuff. So I try to keep them focused on really like why they're here. And they have to get very clear on it. And I always ask for permission to like, I would say more or less kind of call them out on it, like not in front of a whole group, but like, hey, remember you said this, and this is why you're here. So tell me more about your mindset that you're coming in with. Like, it's not going to hurt anything to, I wouldn't say positive, but at least have some peace around what we're doing, and know that it's important. And again, once they're, it's hard to at first, because especially for women, it depends. There's a big chunk of time where your body doesn't budge.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't budge. You start
Yep.
questioning everything. You start blaming other people, even the coach. I'm like, oh
Yes.
my God, like, she hasn't lost a single pound in 6 weeks. What am I doing with my life? And I'm telling you, something consistently is the ones that have the better mindset right out of the gate, it feels like tend to start seeing results, whatever that means, faster, because they're focused, they're putting out positive energy, they're kind of manifesting the thing that they came in and said that they wanted. And so it seems to accelerate results.
Yeah, for sure. Do you, what was I gonna ask? Um, okay, I'll go back to that. But I was curious about warm-ups. So like, can you kind of explain the importance of warm-ups for, I guess, small group team training, and then just anyone working out in general, what's the importance of doing that?
Yeah, so in the last few years, my thoughts around warm-ups have changed a lot. A big piece was going through the pain-free performance specialist certification, because it seems like a lot of people can spend a really long time on a warm-up instead of shortening it and doing really specific movements to prepare for the work ahead. So my thoughts are more change. I would say it's usually a couple foam rolling exercises that are more of short, acute activation, as opposed to like if you were foam rolling in recovery, we're kind of doing like long, broad, massagey, that's not the right word, massagey, movement across the foam roller. So we're going to hit things that we know are probably tight. Like for me, I know I always have to roll my hip flexors. They're always tight. I just know that. Boom, done. And then some, and mobility too is even a tricky word, because really, I would say we're mobilizing the joints in the moment, but mobility really comes again from strength training.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say we're making sure that we hit up major joints, because we know everyone's, especially upper back, is always locked up, right? Because they're in this hunched over computer phone position all day. So we make sure we get the T-spine moving, we open the hips, some shoulders, some glute activation, and then on with it. Because again, like some people get so obsessed with a warm up or this long recovery, and they never get to like the meat of the workout, which again, if it's strength training is the goal, like that's what we need to get to. So I'd say it's changed a lot in the last few years, shorter, more specific. And then the expectation that recovery comes in a lot of different ways, right? Like eating enough protein, getting enough sleep. It's not just foam rolling, it's a whole lot more.
Right. That's so true. Okay. I was curious about that because I feel like it's changed over the years, like not just within Anytime Fitness programming, but with what people are saying. And like I follow some other fitness professionals who say one thing, and then it's like, well, I don't know. So, but
Yeah.
I love what you
Yeah.
said, like keeping it short and specific. And then maybe more so doing like correctional based exercises a little bit. And then recovery comes in different ways. So yeah, I love that. I remembered my other question too. So when you have someone who, or I guess in the past, if you've had someone who, a woman, maybe a male, female, and they're not seeing the results that they're wanting, is there anything else that you've done other than asking them about their mindset and reminding them why they started? Is there anything else that you have done, either you talk to them about, or I guess anything else that you have done to help them through that?
Yeah, for sure. So everyone that comes in has an assessment, and we assess them right off the bat, how they move, usually some kind of body composition, how much muscle, how much fat, are they hydrated, just their conditioning level in general, and gathering as much data as I can up front. So one, I can track it over time, but two, I have stuff to track over time. So when something happens or isn't working, I can better pinpoint, narrow the scope on what might actually be going on, because there's so many things, right? Every single body is different, which is why we love training, but we can go back and measure, assessment after assessment against each other, or maybe even deep dive into things that we didn't see or think of at first. So I would say it's having those conversations too, like, have you been, how's your quality of sleep been? What's your stress level like? What are you eating? An easy one that I do with a lot of people is just have them food log, not even an app, anything, whatever, keep it really simple. Write down what you eat for the next 3 days, and let's just look it over. And most women are grossly under eating, not getting enough protein, super high stress, not enough sleep, drinking wine instead of water. And so then the full story starts to come out. And with those food journals, and if I've asked, and again, making sure they're comfortable, but even just keeping a journal, like, how do you feel today when you wake up? are you tired right out of the gate? Are you feeling good? Why? Let's look back at yesterday and see, what did you do yesterday that lined you up to feel so good today? So it's a lot of like collecting data, monitoring progress over time, and having a relationship or a connection with that client that's intimate enough where you can really dig, because a lot of this stuff they don't even think, because they don't even know
Right.
to tell you, because they haven't even associated that that could be the problem.
Yeah. I've definitely had times when a client doesn't think about those things, and either I'll ask questions to get out of them, and then they're like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense, that has affected my results, or they just like don't think about it. So then it's kind of cool to see clients have like make that connection to off based off that conversation. And I feel like sometimes they know it, but they don't want to say it because they feel defeated and they don't want to tell me.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And that's when you go back to the why and talk about like,
Yeah.
hey, remember, this is a partnership, right? Like I'm here to align with you, support you. If this is, you know what I mean? Like tell me, a lot of it is like, yes, I'm the professional, but also like, let me hear the story to help figure out what you might need. Because a lot of
Mhm.
times people don't even know, and they're in their own echo chamber, right? They've been telling themselves the same story their whole lives. And so for someone else to now start asking questions about it can be really powerful.
Yeah, for sure. What would be like one or two misconceptions that people have when you tell them that you're a trainer or a coach or anything? Yeah, anything that you've heard.
I get this. This one has never gone away. Oh, so you spend hours in the gym, or oh, that's why your arms look that way, right? Um, and and to the point, sometimes I don't even tell people I'm a trainer anymore. If they start asking questions, or I can feel like they're like trying to figure it out, because I can't like sit and deep dive into what you're projecting onto me about what you think health and
Yeah,
fitness is. And so a lot of times when I tell them, like, you know what, I said I default to my why. Like I don't want to spend hours. I want to be really specific with my time, because my why for being in the gym is so I can do whatever I want outside of the gym.
yes,
And so I'm not spending 2 hours in there because I want to go hike or paddle, like that's the whole
yes.
point of this thing. So I'm really efficient with my time. I use undulating periodization myself, functional training. I'm using all the things that I write and believe in. Because I have stuff going on too. I've beaten up this body for years and years. I haven't done recovery as well as I have recently. And so, yeah, I'd say that's the biggest one is, oh, so you spend hours in the gym. Like, nah, some weeks I don't even go to the gym.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I know.
Yeah.
I'll get people who like they think I eat perfect,
Yes.
and I'm like, no, nope, you were mistaken because I like my sweets. I do
Hmm.
not eat perfect all the time, that's for sure. Like
Yeah.
we're humans too. We're human beings, and we
Yes.
will not go to the gym all the time. We will have down days. We'll not eat as good, and I just want people to know that.
For sure. That goes back to how they've been conditioned into this, diet deprivation culture where they
Yeah,
think they can't eat anything, can't drink and can't have a life, have to spend hours and hours in the gym. And that's a frustration. That's one of the things like I'm out to change is like, no, like that's 1 hour, 30 minutes in a gym. Like I'm actually way more concerned about how you're spending the rest of your day.
yeah, yeah. And I think that a lot of people don't realize, or maybe not realize, but they don't think about what they're doing outside of the gym. They're just not as aware of it. Like they're
Mm,
like, because for me, I felt like I could only control how much I went to the gym, and I had to work out all the time to like burn a bunch of calories, and like I didn't think about all the other what I was doing outside of the gym, whether it's just movement, meditating, what I eat, drinking water, like working out is just a small portion of the day that we also need to be more aware of outside of the gym too, outside
mhm.
of workouts. And that's important. Do you ever count macros, or have you, I guess, macros, calorie counting, just being having more intuitive eating? What's your thought on that? What have you had your clients do?
I've done everything under the sun, more about experimenting on behalf of my clients, like just curiosity. I would say, even though I did great at bodybuilding, I didn't love it, but I did learn the most about nutrition, macros, calories, hormones, that side of things when I was doing my own show prep. Um, but after that, I didn't, it was so exhausting and it wasn't fun. And again, it wasn't that it, I can see how if people go too far, it can create a really bad relationship with food and calories and just like even mindfulness around eating, right? So I've been stricter in the past. I would say now, I've been doing this for not forever, probably close to 20 years. And so it is pretty intuitive. Like I know what, 25 grams of protein looks like. I can feel when I haven't drank enough water. So like there's things that as you do them over time, I would say in general, I would start my clients in learner mode and have them find things that work best for them. And as they start working and results start happening, you can, I wouldn't say more relaxed, but it's just part of your day. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit and think about it as much as you used to, because it's become a habit. And then the last few years, I've had lots of coaches over the years, but I had a coach that introduced me to habit stacking, which has been a really powerful tool for myself and a lot of people. It's simply just taking a habit you already do and adding a little something to it. So like when I'm at my desk, I have my water, and I know this water has to be gone by the end of the day. When I am taking a walk, I'm also practicing my breath work. So it's just little things that really add up over time. Like this is a lot, not easier, but it's a lot more simple, I think, than people think. You can do very little things over time and you will move in the right direction. Your body will respond. That's what it's meant to do.
Yeah, I agree. Something that I really try and stress at the club that I work at is small steps, small baby steps. I think people come in with this expectation that they need to change everything at once. And I'm like, no, like, let's start small. What is one thing that you want to change outside of the gym? And maybe it's with just adding more fruit and vegetables or drinking more water. And then once we implement that for 8, so we do our assessments every 8 weeks. So 8 weeks, we reevaluate how was that habit, and then adding on maybe something else, like something small. And I feel like people get really relieved when we do it that way, and when they like realize that that's a thing that they can just focus on, one thing at a time. And once I don't remember where I learned about habit stacking, but did you do so? Like when we were closed for COVID, there was something called Coach Catalyst. I don't know if that was an In-Time Fitness thing or something else, but I think that's when I learned about habit stacking, like just, having one habit and then in time stacking it. At least
Yeah.
that's what I thought. But yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that they can just start small and those things add up over time. That's what adds up over time to the bigger changes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a book by Darren Hardy called The Compound Effect, and he talked about the small, seemingly insignificant changes lead up to like the bigger results, something like that. And that's kind of what habit stacking reminds me of. It's just like those small things. They don't seem important, but those are the things that's going to add up over time.
Yeah, for sure. It all goes back to that unpacking what the industry has told them, that they're
Yeah.
going to get there quick, they're fast, and then they're going to be done forever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
then you don't have to work on it anymore.
It's so frustrating.
I know.
Is there any other like nutrition or fitness or health and wellness misconceptions or like myths out there that you are just out to kind of debunk and tell people like, hey, this is not going to get you to where you really want to be?
Um, I would probably say, and this is probably a much like larger topic, but something that has kind of been really like bright for me in the last couple of years is really this idea of collective wellness, and that we, the fitness industry, our clients, our consumers, we have to get louder about our own healthcare, right? If we learned anything from the last year and a half, whatever year we're on, that people need help. We need a lot of help. And again, I think I said this earlier, like no one's coming to save us. And we have to figure out like, how can we as a collective human species start moving in the right direction? Because we're not going to make it. Like we're already, even before COVID, we were not well. We were not well. And then throw in environmental factors on top of it. Like we really have to start incorporating this stuff and make it a priority, in order to like even just be around, right? Let
Yeah.
alone living a good life. That's why I really got a lot more in kind of this idea of like, collective wellness has to include social justice. We have to really think about the earth in a different way. In the next couple decades, we might not have clean soil or water. And then what happens, like, so there's a lot of things where I wish people, not just for themselves, but like for humanity, would put this on their radar, and we start unpacking it and demanding more, like we can figure out ways to get funding. We can figure out ways, every physician has to partner with a trainer, if 60% of the people, I don't even know what it is now, but 60% are obese, and the cure is movement, right? Like, why wouldn't that be the automatic idea of a doctor? But there's a lot of other things that come into play there politically.
Yeah.
But that's what I would really love to see, is that we all start rallying for our health and wellness, and our kids and our planet, because it's not looking great right now.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of one thing too that I haven't really thought of, but the collective health and wellness, like not just for ourselves or like our kids, but like what we can do to improve the planet and just, the collective. So I love that you said that. You also, I think it's on your Instagram, it says that you're an oxygen advantage instructor. Tell me
Yes.
more. What is that?
Okay, so that is the last certification that I got. And it was kind of came out in a few ways. One, I was really struggling with my own central nervous system, especially during COVID. Like I felt a lot of emotions that I usually don't have at my core, like anger and sadness, and a lot of things where I was like, where is this coming from? Right. And so I started to try to heal that and unpack that, and not just like, oh, I'm going to sit here and breathe, but like truly trying to figure out how can I rewire my brain to respond to things differently that are happening in my world. So I started with, actually, I went to Andrew Saldana, who's a club owner out in the Seattle area, and he does these fire and ice experiences, which basically you hop in an ice bath and try to like control yourself, and then heat, and then ice, and heat, and ice. So that was the first thing. And I just had a great conversation with him, and he suggested like, hey, from the words that you're using, from what you're describing, it sounds like your central nervous system could use some serious repair and attention. So it kind of like got me spiraling, just thinking about my own self. And then of course, everyone else. I'm like, if I'm struggling, I feel like everyone else is probably struggling
Yeah.
too. And it's something I didn't know a whole lot about. So I continued on doing the ice work for about 12 weeks. And then I also read the book called Breathe. And it's James, actually, I bet I have it in my James something, I can't remember. But anyway, it goes through about how, 25,000 times a day we breathe in and out, and no one's breathing right. No one's
Right.
breathing
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Biologically, it goes through the whole history. It was so fascinating. Like I felt like every chapter I learned something new, and I learned something new. and how to rework your breath, different exercises and practices. And then, of course, I'm sure I got hit with some algorithm, or maybe it was the universe. But within a few weeks of reading Breathe, I got hit with this ad for this Oxygen Advantage training created by the guy that kind of kicked off or inspired the author of Breathe. So it was all kind of came together.
Wow.
Took the course, and it was more specifically for athletes too. And really just talking about, like, again, breathing for athletic performance, a big takeaway, which I'm still practicing on. I don't recommend anyone listening doing, just trying this, but you certainly can. But in all the tests that they, with really high level athletes, they taught them to breathe, even in the most extreme hard workouts and training, to breathe with their mouth closed. And I thought that was so, like, fascinating. And so, like, all these things improve your sleep, help with pain, help with anxiety, depression, just by practicing how to breathe better and putting yourself in uncomfortable situations where you have to control your breath, like the ice bath, or keeping your mouth closed while you're doing HIIT training. Or so also, like, the act of being uncomfortable and letting your brain go and letting your brain choose, right? Like, either now I've put up a blocker here and this is scary and uncomfortable, or build a bridge. And really, it's like, I think the kind of the takeaways are like, think purposely, or purposely, breathe purposely, move purposely. So it was just, it all kind of came together in a weird way. And I really contribute, like, that work I did with Andrew and carried on that book. And then the instructor training is, I think, the first time in my life I actually am able to, like, almost always come from a place of calm. And especially after like a year and a half of not, I feel like I've built the habit and it's stuck, the work that I did. So there will probably be some more to some breath work, or even just thinking about breathing in the future of programming, especially in recovery, like little exercises you can do, just little things for people to think about or explore. But yeah, I'm all about it because I'm Reiki certified too, which is energy healing. And I find myself doing a very rhythmic breathing when I do that, just before all this. So it's a lot more connected, especially with the year and a half a lot of people have had. It really can help you get centered, get grounded, and even just like think more clearly without any fog.
Yeah, that's super fascinating. And for me, I know that when I started meditating over time, I realized that I am more calm in different situations, but then also using my breath differently when I work out, and really being more aware of my breath when I work out. And I think it's something that people, it's not looked at as something to do and incorporate in workouts and in health and wellness, but it's such a powerful tool. Like, our breath, it is such a powerful tool. I mean, it's like our life, but using it in a way that's going to help us with anything that we do, workouts, pain, like you talked about, all of that. So and I think I heard someone else talk about breath. That's a book. The name is
Yeah.
called.
Yep.
Now I wonder if there's an Audible. I like this
There
one.
is. I listened to it on the drive to Utah. I was just free. I literally at several points had to pull over and like take notes because I was like, it was just
Yeah,
blowing my mind.
that's how I would be. Like, when I'm listening to things, sometimes I have to pause it, whether it's a podcast or a book. Like, I need to pause it, write notes, or go to my notes app and and then rewind, listen to it again and take notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. Um, yeah, I just think people really need to look more at that breath work. I never had heard of that before, like the instructor to be able to do that. Um, and so, speaking of certifications, how many certifications do you have?
Oh my gosh. A lot. I would say my main ones, NASM, the Functional Aging Institute, pain-free specialist, kettlebells, lots of different kinds of kettlebells and the tools, functional training tools, Reiki, Oxygen Advantage. And then in August, I'm so excited for this. I already know I'm going to love it. I'm starting a certification called Trauma Informed Weightlifting. And
Wait,
I know.
no,
I know.
this is okay. Pause for a second. Did you just see my reaction? Okay. Because if someone's listening to this, they need to go watch the YouTube of my reaction right now. Because a good friend of mine who we were really close like in college, and then she moved away, and like we're still friends, we connect every now and then, but it's not the same, when you're living in the same town. But anyways, we never text, hardly ever. If anything, it'll be like an Instagram message. She texted me today a TikTok of trauma informed workout or whatever you just said,
Yeah.
and yeah, she like sent that to me, the most random ass thing. And it was the girl was talking about a book. It had a kettlebell on it, and I don't remember what it's called, but it was that. And I'm just like mind blown that you just brought that up.
She might be, there's a book called The Body Keeps Score. It might be that. That's kind of like a little bit of where the certification was inspired from. And the author actually, he was like born in the 40s, but he actually has been studying this post-traumatic stress and how and movement since the 70s. So I'm super excited. The people that run it, they're actually based out of Minnesota. I think they have like a chapter in Boston too. But I really feel like this is this is again what we've kind of been like circling around, is this connection to not just lifting the weight, but like what else does it do for you? Like what else does strength training potentially heal for you or bring out in you that you didn't expect, like stuff like
Yes.
that. So I'm super excited. I think I start end of August. I'll let you know how it goes. And of course, I
Oh,
will
that's
look at
awesome.
bringing them in as a vendor at any time for
Yeah.
sure. Like I feel like it's such a missing link that could really help us have these harder conversations and really help people heal at a
Yeah.
deeper level.
And like just to get through to people, to help them just navigate like health and fitness and getting to their goals, and just it, yeah, I totally think it's a missing piece. Like it's something that I feel like I'm already trying to do and incorporate.
Mm-hmm.
But because I'm assuming when you say trauma, just like the whole everything that they've been through too, like mental health and just things like that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I feel like that's something that I'm trying to incorporate too. And I think people appreciate that. It's we're trying to help them, not just like, for me, it's the physical health is important, but also that mental health aspect.
Yep.
And so is that certification something that anyone can do, or how's that work? Did you sign up
Yeah,
for it?
so they have it option online and then they will host it too. I don't know if they've hosted one since COVID, but there's kind of two options. One is like 30 hours of you're sitting in a virtual class. And then I think the other one is like 15 hours in a virtual class and like 15 hours in small groups. So I have no idea which one I signed up for. Actually have the notes right here. So yeah, there's like a hybrid option too.
Okay.
But I like, I'm doing it for myself, but I am kind of more or less auditing it for any time to see if it's something that we could bring in. And then of course, the question is always, how do we scale it too, right? Would probably be
Right.
online for most people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just started kind of bridging those gaps that I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, I mean, no one's escaping life without some trauma, everyone's coming in with something. So there'll be something that can help anybody is the goal.
Yes, that's so true. Oh, I'm so excited to hear all about it, and hopefully be able to have Anytime Fitness bring that on. That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
That is like, I'm surprised, but like, I'm not surprised that we had this weird connection today.
I was definitely not expecting it. Holy cow. Yeah, because I had never heard of that before. And then
Yeah.
randomly my friend just messaged that to me. And then here you are bringing it up. Like,
Wow.
it's a
Good. Maybe it's
sign.
starting to get out in the world. That's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it is. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we were also talking about, lifting and strength training. Can you tell us more about like lifting versus cardio, how to implement both, why people should not just do cardio, like kind of shine a light on that?
Yeah. I would say, strength training again is going to be at our core, at our center. We do have people that love cardio, which is fine. What I tell them, like, especially as a trainer, like, I'm never going to take something away from you. If it's movement that you love, all I want to do is add to it. So like, if you love to run, great, but let's make sure we're lifting, getting enough calories, getting enough, the right macros to make sure that you can both run and strength train. But I would say for most people, again, kind of like that majority, that sweet spot, it would be like 80% lifting, and then ending with like a quick little hit circuit. But there's also a deep value in just low aerobic, going outside for a walk,
Yes,
swimming.
I
Well, I
agree.
would say swimming can be very aerobic, but like cardio, if you're looking for, you need a little bit of anaerobic, a little bit of uncomfortable, not a lot, but a couple minutes a day would be great if you could. But if you can't, if you can get up and get out the door and go on a 15-minute walk every morning, not only is it aerobic, but it's going to be super beneficial in other ways. So I always tell people, like, when you're with me, we're going to strength train. I'm going to sprinkle in some, some cardio to help your heart and your immune system. But when you're not with me, I'd like you to still move and do whatever you want. If you like to Zumba. You know what I mean? If you like to ride your
Yeah.
bike, a family, like play day at the park, walking your dog, whatever. Just make sure that you're moving, because we're all still not moving enough. Even
Yes.
me as a trainer, now that I'm virtual, I'm like, oh my God, what is this? My eyes hurt, my hands hurt. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Yeah. I know. And I think
Yeah.
that walking is something that is so underrated with as something that someone can do as cardio or just as movement. And I just
Mhm.
learned this as being a trainer. I feel like just the past 6 months was when I've kind of started hearing more other health and fitness professionals talk about it. And because at first I was like, walking as a cardio, like that doesn't seem right. But the more that I hear about it and the more that I think about it, it's simple, it's low impact. Most people don't move enough anyways, like you were talking about. It's just
Mhm.
something that, and you can spread it out throughout the day. Maybe it's 10 minutes, morning, noon, and evening, or just something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think walking is something that a lot of people don't even realize that can benefit them as cardio too, I guess.
Well, for sure. And even what you just said, like, think about if you do 10 minutes morning, noon, and night, now you're at 30 minutes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Now we're
Mm-hmm.
cooking, right? Like, now we're
Yes.
doing stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
it's again, those little things that you can do that add up.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. Do you have a specific lift or exercise that you love to do yourself? A
Hmm.
favorite?
A favorite? I I probably love more like posterior work, like deadlift. Um, I do a lot more pulling than I used to, just for like posture and keeping myself upright as long as possible.
Yeah.
I'd probably say any hinging, deadlift, kettlebell swings. And I probably fell in love with it most because I have a joint disease. So I have non-cancerous tumors in my knee. And so if it's a bad knee day, which has happened a lot less than it used to, because I hired a coach, um, I can't do, I can squat okay, but I can't lunge that great. So I feel like anything where I'm doing hinging, I'm like, okay, I'm working my legs, I'm still doing good, but I don't get frustrated with that my knee doesn't do what I want it to.
Right. Yeah. I love deadlifting. That's like my currently, if someone were to ask me what my favorite thing to do is in the gym, it's deadlift,
Yeah.
100%. I don't know why. I think it's because I just feel strong and it's
Yeah.
fun for me. I don't know, but I love it. And then also I've noticed just in my day to day when I'm picking stuff up, or like I can tell when I'm doing other things, or I can somehow connect it to day life too. So
Yeah, for sure.
so as a trainer, is there any mistakes that you made in the past that you can think of that you really learned from? And I guess, yeah, what did you do differently after that?
Um, I would say I tried to overcomplicate things, like do too much of the wrong type of movement. or like try to fast forward from the basics when clients maybe weren't ready, or were showing me signs of like a slight adjustment instead of like hopping to the next level, or even maybe overwhelming them with too many action items up front. So like, okay, it's your first day. You're going to drink a gallon of water. You're going to eat protein at every meal. You're going to move out. You're going to get up and move it. You know what I mean? Just like too many things. And, wonder why they feel overwhelmed, right? Like I'm not helping. And so really like taking a step back and understanding how fitness can fit into people's current lives right where they are right now, and also help them develop a mindset like the body that they're in, that they have, is moving towards the direction of health. And so helping them, like I always felt really uncomfortable, and I still do, I have to like work myself through it when people like talk badly about themselves or their bodies, because I know like there's something in there that needs to be addressed that I probably can't access. So it was kind of almost like having the bravery to tell the client and talk to them about, hey, here's what I'm hearing. What do you think, or how do you feel? And really making sure like to speak back to them, to make sure that they're having the best mindset they can, because there's going to be hard days. And that was probably one other thing too, is also kind of working, I hate using this word because it's just part of it, but like working failure into part of the plan. So almost like what to do when nothing goes right. You know what I mean? Like making sure they have a plan B and C and D for the day. So they never ever feel like they can't do it, they failed. So really making sure to support them, and saying like, hey, you know what? Sure, you didn't get to the gym, but you took that 10-minute walk this morning, or you drank all of your water. So making sure that they still know like that if they're moving, they're always moving in the right direction, right? And that includes when we mess up or we fail. Like that's not the word. It's just, it's not failing. It's just life. It's part of it.
Right.
It's part of the plan.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I think it's important to help clients see, or just help people see the other small wins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if their goal was to do a workout today, but like you said, like they didn't do it, well, what's something else that you can really consciously think of that is a win? And there's always something. And I know there's people out there sometimes they're like, well, they'll tell me that there is nothing, that I can't think of anything. And I just have to kind of talk them through like, yeah, there is. Like, let's talk through your day. What happened? And then it's like, bam, bam, all of that,
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden things just start stacking up and they're like, oh, okay.
Yep. Yep. What about, do you have clients, or have you had clients who they tried to progress in exercise, but they weren't ready yet, and helping them to understand why they need to maybe modify it or take it back? Have you ever been through that? And like for me, it's making sure that I can explain it to them why we need to regress it, but in a way that's not going to make them feel bad or make them feel like I think they can't do that.
Yes, that is always a tricky one. I feel like especially in team, right? When there's other people doing something that they're not, like they get all these things. But I always try to keep it light and like be mindful of egos, because I also like when you're a beginner at something, that's also a conversation we need to have. Like, hey, you hired me. I'm gonna lead you through this, and I'll progress us when I feel like we're ready. We're partnered. You have input. You have a voice. You're seen and heard, but I have to protect you. Like you're my person, and I'm never going to try to have you do something that I don't feel that you're ready for. So I always just say, hey, I was like, oh, you know what? I noticed that like your hip is shifting to the left. You know what? Today, forget that. Let's just do some bridges instead. So keep it really light. Let them know why. Like can't be like, hey, your swings look like garbage.
Right.
Please put that kettlebell down right away. but really just a way, again, especially coaches have to be really careful in the language that we use, because it's super easy to say, don't do that, or you can't do that, when positive cueing would be, so let's say it's a hinge, it's like, don't round your back versus proud chest. You know what I mean? So it's little
Yes.
languages, little cues, which a lot of coaching is connecting the right cue to the right person,
Yes.
and making sure it's positive. It's positive tone, it's positive body language, the word itself, and you can usually manage it pretty well.
Yeah. I love, okay, that's something that I need to remember. Like first keeping it light and kind of just making it like fun, like, hey, you did this, let's instead do this, and
Mhm.
here's why. And just, yeah, I love that. And then also cueing as a trainer, that's something that I'm constantly trying to listen for and learn from other trainers, is like little things that we can say and when we're explaining a workout or a movement. And I've noticed that I'll try a few cues with someone and then I'll try something else, and then that's the one that gets them to do it. And I get so excited. I have to like keep my cool in the gym because I will get so hyped up when I can get someone to do a hip hinge or to
Yes.
perform like some sort of movement. It's so exciting for me, but it's been a challenge, like learning the cues and learning more cues to help someone get their body to do that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that's a
for
cool thing
sure.
for me.
That is
What
the best
is,
feeling.
I know it really is. Oh my God. There's definitely been times in the gym when I'm like jumping up and down, excited.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so awesome to see. I love it. But I think too, most of the time, yeah, like 99.9% of the time, the clients love that because then it's
Yes.
like, oh, I do get it. They get excited too, even though they're
Yeah.
like low key excited, but
Yes.
internally they're like freaking out. So I just portray the excitement for them. Yeah. Is there so we are kind of talking about challenges and things for you. So for me as a trainer, some people, I just think that they don't know or realize that I've been through challenges. I still do go through challenges. Is there one or two challenges that you've been through or are going through that you're overcoming or have overcome?
Mhm. Um, I've gone through a lot of physical stuff as an athlete. Again, when I was in the high school I went to, we didn't have a strength training room. Like I played volleyball, and our workout was go run a mile. So like I had, I've had surgery. As I said, I have this joint disease that came out of a knee surgery. So I'm always looking for being curious, and I've had a lot of coaches and trainers over the years too. I think it's really important, if you're a trainer and a coach, you should have a trainer, or you should have been trained, because it's another time where I learned a lot about myself, and also again these great cues and techniques and approaches and how to have hard conversations. So I'd say, like, when it comes to like physicality, I probably have overcome a decent amount with the help, always with the help of a trainer or a coach. um, I guess I would say, I, as far as overcoming things, I have a son he'll be 21 next week. And I say son, and people always go, "How old are you?" But I technically he's my stepson, but I got divorced maybe 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago now. And kind of in the last few years of my marriage up until now, that my stepson has just become my son. Like he's my guy, he's my person. He actually lives with me even now. And so I would say that I've always had a lot of empathy as a woman, and even though I'm not like a traditional mother, having really understanding like the perspective of the female, of the time and energy and resources it takes to raise a kid, raise a child. And not only that, but like whether you're with a partner, or a partner that's maybe not great for you, or on your own, and trying to manage your own health and wellness and all these things, and careers and everything. It can be a lot, which is again why I always point back to to hire a trainer or a coach, have someone else problem solve this for you, have someone else take this off your plate. You have enough things and you have obstacles. You just do financial, time, location, whatever it might be. And there are trainers out there that are a fit for you and that will work. So I would say that when in my most difficult times, my default was to hire a coach and challenge myself and try something new, get out of my own way, and really focus on myself, because I didn't give myself a lot of opportunities to do that when I was younger. And it showed when I got into adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
It showed up big. So I definitely, I value that self-care, self-love aspect in particular for women, because there's a lot on our plates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it can be something, one aspect of self-care, self-love, health and wellness that you, like you said, you just don't have to think about. And to have someone there, like we invest in going to the dentist to get our teeth cleaned, or going to the eye doctor, or, you know, going to the doctor, whatever it is. But it's like, for me, it's just helping someone understand and see the value in having a coach or a trainer to help them move their bodies better, and to help them with not having to think about a workout, and to progress them in time, and that, hey, this is going to help you in other areas of your life too, you know. So
Yep.
yeah, I guess for me, that's, I totally agree. And it's been a kind of a challenge, but it's cool when someone can realize that too, like the value of having someone in their corner, not
Mm-hmm.
just for workouts, but everything else too.
Yeah, for sure.
So just a few other questions. I know now
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it's been an hour since we started, but it's
Oh
been an
yeah, I
just so much to
didn't.
talk about. Do you have any advice for a trainer who's leading other trainers? So like I'm the MXM, but I have other trainers, part-time trainers. Do you have any advice for leadership in that?
um I think it goes back to that conversation that we had about collaboration. Like I'm a big person who I kind of lead by just like being in the group. Like I don't want to be the person standing in front and telling you what to think. It's more about like, let's talk about how we think, right? Like how do we approach this? Man, when I was a new trainer, I had a couple other trainers that had been trainers longer. And even just bouncing out, a lot of training too, besides like collaboration education, is just enough eyes on enough bodies over time where you start to recognize things as they come. And as a new trainer, I'm like, okay, I can see that this is happening, but I don't know why. Or I can't figure out, is it up the chain, down the chain, across the chain, right?
Mhm.
So it can be so helpful on the technical side to just have other trainers. We used to do like train the trainer and get together, and one of us would lead the workouts, and even just seeing someone else, how they approach leading build versus how I do. Like it's this exchange of knowledge and energy, and everyone's having fun and bonding, that I think is great. And the other piece too is we get really focused on the technical piece, and then sometimes we like forget about the business side, which is really important for the trainers. What we talked about earlier is that there were periods in my life where I wasn't strong at selling, and I loved to train, but I couldn't make money. Like I just wasn't
Mhm.
good at it. I didn't have someone coaching me on how to do it. And so when I first got into Lifetime, you have to go through a pretty rigorous like sales training process. And I started to connect the dots. And then one step further, like, how can I make this my own, right? How can it just be a conversation where we dig in and we learn together about the best possible solution for you? So a lot of it too was my own mindset about training, is feeling a little uncomfortable with it. But the mentor that I had at the time said, listen, let me ask you this. Do you believe that you are a client's best bet for success? Like, do you think they can do this better without you? And I was like, no. And he's like, then stop. Like, you can do this. if they leave without a trainer or coach, you're doing them a disservice. So I also had to change how I thought about it too. So I would
Yes.
say, yeah, it was kind of like two buckets of leadership where we really deep dive into the technical science nerd piece. And then in the business side, which I also think that's where kind of this like behavior change, mental health piece also comes in, because it's having these hard conversations, having intimate fitness consultations where stuff comes out, right? Like we've all had
Mhm.
consultations where clients are in tears because no one has ever asked them how they're doing,
Yep.
right? Like, how
Mhm.
do you feel about your health? No one ever asked them that. It's crazy. So I would say kind of like those two buckets where I really lean into and have open conversations like, how can I help you? Where are you the most uncomfortable as a trainer? And let's start there because, and I always like maybe half joke, but it's real. I'm like, hey, trainers, like, if you can address where you're most uncomfortable, how do you expect your clients to, or how do you expect to lead your clients through this? So it's also a good test for themselves too. It's a good skill to master.
Yeah, that's so true. I never really thought about it like that. And also, like, I liked how you said collab, like doing a collab with the, train the trainer. I've
Mhm.
something that I've been wanting to implement was something like that, like where one person trains build, one person trains, teaches SGT, things like that. And I have in the past a little bit, but when I listen to that other trainers do a session, if I'm at the gym and they're there, I take their session, I can hear things that their style of training and coaching and their cues is different from me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's, I should start doing that. That's a good idea.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that if more trainers do that, like collab, it can only help,
Mhm.
everyone. Um, so, what was my next question? Oh, yeah, what is there a piece of advice, like your best piece of advice that you've heard from someone else? I love asking people this.
Mhm. Um, I would say I actually got this advice from a client one time. One of my favorite clients, her name's Christy. We still keep in touch. And she said, because I was trying to figure out, I was in this position, right, where I loved what I did, but I wasn't where I wanted to be, making enough money, all the things, like just spiraling. And she just like simply said, you do the things that bring you energy. Like, does where you are right now wake you up in the morning, get you out of bed, like get you excited for the day? Does it drain you when you're here? Like all those things. And I started making moves after that, and life just got a little bit easier. It was
Mhm.
just easier to make moves with that at the front, because it was just a simple question. I would arrive to a thing. I have to make a choice, and it would be, does this bring me energy? If the answer was no, then goodbye. And if the answer is yes, then I'm in. So
Mhm.
I would say I'm way better at it now, because it's like, I don't like my job, so I quit. You know what I mean? Well, like,
Yeah.
oopsie, too
Yeah.
far, right? But it always has really served me well, is that do the things that bring you energy. And I think probably in the last couple of years, after unpacking my own nervous system, really, like, does this move you towards calm? Does it move you towards peace? And if it doesn't, if it's a person, place, or thing that doesn't, then it's easier to pass, because I know my goal, and I know my center is peace and calm.
Yes, those are great questions to ask. Does this bring me energy? Does this bring me calm? And for
Mhm.
me, I've started asking similar questions, and then not just if it's a yes or no, but if it's a hell yes, then it's yes
Yeah.
for sure. And if it's a no, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no.
Yep.
But I think about that. Would you say that's the piece of advice you would give to your younger self, or is there something else you can think of?
Um, my younger self, I would say probably trust your gut always. Don't question it. It's never wrong. It's never wrong. I would say, again, yep, learn how to regulate your CNS, your central nervous system. Um, and this was a really hard one, and I still kind of grieve this one would be that love isn't enough. Like in a relationship, especially, there's more than that. You have to feel safe and seen,
Yes.
and heard and soothed, and communication and growth. Because I really used to have love at my core instead of peace and calm. And I wasn't great at it because there was no boundaries. It got toxic. And because I thought that's all there was, like that was the goal. Love everyone all the
Yes.
time, even if
Mhm.
they are horrible people, like that kind of thing. So I would say that, yeah, like learn how to soothe, calm your nervous system, trust your gut, and that love isn't enough.
I really love that last one, that love isn't enough, because I'm someone who I'm always like, yeah, peace and love, but also I've been learning in the past few months that some people, some situations and things doesn't bring me love and peace and calm and energy. So it's kind of thinking about that. And then also the piece of like what, if you're in a relationship, whether it's friendship or more than a friendship, knowing that it, like you said, it's more than love, but it's what else did you say? Calm, um, safe, protected,
Mhm.
seen,
Yes.
communication, like all of those things. So I really love that. Um, is there one question that not many people ask you, but would be a really good question to ask?
Um, Probably going back to what we talked about earlier about why I care so much about social justice and the environment. They're one and the same, really, for me.
Mhm.
It's that thought about collective wellness. It's really hard for me to think about um, profiting in a business while maintaining systems that promote the opposite. Like that's not a healthy system. It's not a healthy process or culture. And it's really important for me to help people kind of own the lens that they see the world, right? Because we all come in with these perspectives.
Mhm.
And really, part of health for me is really, really understanding someone, especially when it's hard. And same with the environment, right? Like how we engage in our environment is a direct reflection in how we engage with ourselves and our own bodies and our relationships. So I would say like our relationship to the planet is something like I just like I probably learning too much right now, but like I'm deep diving into like ecofeminism right now, especially with all these women retreats and we're doing all this stuff outside. I'm like, man, there is something here with women in particular who are creators and how we engage and care for the planet, which is a creation, right? So there's kind of these themes that are being unlocked. But I would say sometimes I get teased a lot, but that I'm kind of angry. I'm not angry. I want everyone living their best lives, and we can't all do that if we're not all included and there's not equity. So, or even a planet to live on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're very passionate about it. Like you're passionate about those things and it's important. And it's like you're helping people wake up to that idea, that perspective and be like, okay, maybe I should take a look at this. And then you'll find people who are like they want to be a part of your tribe. They want to learn those things. And
Yeah.
then it's like gonna build bigger and bigger. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting once I kind of like open the floodgates on that stuff. Well, I'm sure like your people just start finding you,
mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you're like, oh, we're friends. Like
Yeah.
it's like, it's so cool. It's just like the coolest thing how we're all connected and
Yeah, I agree. It
maybe
really
we're
is.
not.
Yep. Mhm. Is there so there's a couple other questions. So I kind of want advice from okay, so the question that I had was what would be one or two main takeaways that someone listening like you would want them to walk away with. But I would love for you to answer that from a trainer standpoint or for a trainer, someone who is in the fitness business, and then also just someone out there listening, whether they're a client or just not even a client, not even someone who's going to the gym, but trainer and then just another person?
Yeah. Okay. Other person, like a client, I would say this has kind of been a theme for us today, is like, just keep it simple,
Mm-hmm.
start small, get really focused on your why. And then the hard thing about being a client, a consumer in the fitness industry right now is that there's too much information. So how do you even decide what's real, what isn't, what's for you, what's going to work for you, all the things. And I know I'm biased because I'm a trainer, but I really do think you have to partner with someone.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not a trainer or coach, fine, but you still need an ally that's going to empower you, that's going to have empathy, that's going to help you put together a plan and really move you through the process of wellness, because this is going to be something that you engage in forever. Like I'm sorry, sorry, listeners, like there's no end date on wellness. You have to
Yes.
keep going. And so the beginning part is important. It's really important because it's going to be how you build for the rest of your lives. And for the trainers and coaches, probably something really similar, like make sure that you keep that client in the driver's seat. They are in charge of their own lives. You're there to support and guide and navigate. You can't do the work for them. That took me a long time. I was so, I mean, I'm so happy in the empathy still, but I would feel so sad and upset for my clients, like if they weren't making progress or they canceled on me again. Like I felt deeply about that. So
Yeah.
also having some boundaries, right? You can't do the work for them, but keep it simple, empower them to move towards freedom, right? Freedom to live their best lives, freedom to stay focused on their why and why they come in, what is their purpose of being there, and just creating a great relationship. That's a lot of what training is just relationship management and having a deep love for people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. And okay, last question. My episode, or my no episode, my podcast is called Flow with the Grow. And I'm finding that everyone has a different definition of what flow with the grow means to them. So what does flow with the grow mean to you?
Hmm. I actually like picture something almost like a flower, or like definitely like a circle where the person's in the center and they're aligned, right? So like you have this core. We've talked about mine has been a lot of things over there. It was love for a long time. It was anger for a few years. And now it's like peace is probably what my new core is. It's working pretty well. Who knows? Maybe it'll be something else. But I kind of picture like the alignment of this is your core, this is your purpose, and then everything else like comes out as an extension of that. And so really thinking about what's at your center, like what keeps you grounded in who you are and your purpose, because everything else comes from that, good or bad.
Yeah. Wow, that's so unique. And that's something I'm going to think about that, because that's kind of an aspect that I've not really ever thought about. But yeah, that's very cool. Well, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom and your energy. And I'm just blown away by everything that we talked about and that I learned from you. I'm going to listen to this again. I feel like there's just so much that we talked about, but I learned a lot. And yeah, just thank you so much. And I know that you have a retreat called, what is it called?
So
I
the
always see
next
you
one,
posting about it.
yeah, I'm all over the place. Like I have like a bunch of different ones going on, but the next one is Disconnect to
Oh, yeah.
Reconnect. It's all
Mhm.
women's. It's in Zion, right outside of Zion, September 16th through 19th, and we only have 4 spots left. I knew this one would be a big hit because a big focus is this connection to nature. So we're going to go hike
Yes.
Zion. We're going to meditate. We're going to stargaze. We're going to do all this cool stuff. I know, sit by the fire. It's going to
Oh
be
my
great.
gosh. I need to look into that. When is it? September?
Yep, the 16th to the 19th.
Oh, awesome. So if someone listening is like, hey, I want to learn more about the retreats or about you, or kind of just get connected to you, where can people find you? How can they reach out to you?
I would go to my Instagram, which is just Coach Rachel Prairie, and you can message me there. I would say in that my goal, and I've been working on it by the end of the year, is to even have like my own, even just like a landing page where people can find out more about all the things that I have going all the time. But for right now, it lives on my Instagram profile. I have a link tree, and it'll kind of show like the retreats. I have kettlebell certifications, all the things that I love live there. And I would
Awesome.
love to connect. Like that's one of the reasons I like go on these podcasts, is because I just love connecting with people who are curious and ready.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. I'll definitely link that in the show notes so anyone listening can just go to that right away. But yeah, just thank you so much. I hopefully someday can come on to one of those retreats because I see you posting about it all the time, and I'm like, oh, I should do this. I should look into it. We're always saying I should. I just need to do it. So,
Yeah.
but
Are you
yeah,
doing a conference in the fall?
I need to talk to my owner.
Okay.
I want to, and I brought it up to her once, and I hired a full-time trainer, and then actually didn't work out with her. So now I'm hiring someone else. And
Oh,
so
okay.
I know, yeah. So, but I think it's going to work out for the best. Like in hindsight, it definitely is going to. So it's something that I'm going to bring up to her again because I do want to go conferences and live conferences, retreats, things like that. My favorite because of the energy, the things that I learn. It's the people that we meet, and yeah, I love those. I love all of those. So I'm definitely gonna bring it up to her again
Oh, yay. Yeah,
that.
it'll be
So
good. We have like over 2,000 people registered already, so it's going to be a big one. Everyone wants to
wow.
get out.
Oh yeah, seriously, especially after COVID. Yeah. hmm Yeah. So okay, well, I'll let you go. Thank you again. I look forward to connecting again at some point. And yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your night.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, bye.